Happy Victory Monday, Dolphins fans, and it's good to say that for the first time in a while. But we do have some things to talk about here. One, Jevon Holland, an injury update because his hand injury that he left the fourth quarter with yesterday against the New England Patriots is a lot more serious than we probably would have liked. But we'll also have some Miami Dolphins overreactions from the Week 5 win where they beat the New England Patriots 15-10 on the road. And I will say this, it is Victory Monday, and like I mentioned, we haven't got this in a long time. The last time the Dolphins won a football game was the first weekend in September against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I hate the Patriots. I know you're with me. We beat them. Spam F New England down in the comment section for Victory Monday. All right, let's get into the Jevon Holland injury update now because it was reported late last night from Ian Rappoport that the hand injury is a broken bone, and he is expected to miss some time. And this is brutal, but I will be honest, after the game, I kind of expected it to go this way. You might ask yourself why I thought that. Well, our own Omar Kelly reported after the game that he saw Jevon Holland in a cast in the locker room and was talking with some teammates about surgery options. So it's not completely unexpected that he suffered a significant injury. And this is not good to a Dolphins secondary that is already fighting with some of the injuries. And the safety group is probably the one spot in the secondary that you couldn't lose Holland in because Jordan Poyer hasn't been that good this season. And now you might have to rely on the likes of Marcus May and Elijah Campbell. And the question is, how long will you have to rely on them? What is the recovery time for a broken bone in your hand? Well, after doing some research and looking at some other positions that suffered broken hands, Dawson Knox with the Buffalo Bills, some quarterbacks have suffered these injuries in the past, I would guess likely 4 weeks, maybe a month. Now, Holland would be able to potentially come back sooner rather than later with a club on his hand. You've seen players like a linebacker or an edge rusher do that in the past. It would obviously limit Jevon Holland's ability to intercept passes if he ever has the opportunity, but he would be able to be out there on the football field making tackles and ranging in that backfield like the Dolphins desperately need. So I guess maybe 4 to 5 weeks for Jevon Holland, which is probably one of the better things for Miami. At least in terms they have a bye this week, because if he is out 4 weeks, well, one of those weeks is taken up this week when they don't play a single person, so that's good news. And the part that we're going to have to look at, and we'll keep an eye on this week here at the channel, is if he is going to be placed on IR. Now, that's a different story, because if he's placed on IR, maybe it is that 5-week timeline. He's guaranteed to miss 4 games, and he'll miss 5 weeks in total because of the bye week coming up. But if he's not placed on IR, then there's a likelihood that he returns within 2 or 3 weeks after this week against the bye, and he plays against one of the Colts, Cardinals, or Bills, which are the 3 games following the bye week this week. But if he is placed on IR, the Dolphins will have to make a tough decision because the safety room has been interesting this year. You have Holland. Jordan Poyer missed this past week. Luckily, the Dolphins were able to get a win, but Poyer has not been that special this season. And your 2 backups are Elijah Campbell and Marcus May. You have the 6th-round rookie Patrick McMorris still on IR, but the question you'd have to ask is, are you going to sign someone to replace Holland if he goes on IR, or are you just going to keep it in-house with Nick Needham? Needham has a lot of experience on this roster. He's been with the team for 4 years, and he's on the Dolphins practice squad right now. He was elevated for the game yesterday against the Patriots. So would you just sign him to the 53-man from your practice squad if you placed Holland on IR, or would you like to go outside the building and check in to see if there's any other free agents available that you believe could be better than Nick Needham, or on a different practice squad that you'd like to bring into your building? That will be the question that we will have to see gets answered. But it all starts with if Jevon Holland gets placed on IR, because if he doesn't, then it's going to be a little bit more difficult to sign someone because of the 53-man roster, and they'll likely just elevate Nick Needham every single week. All right, let's switch it up, though, and talk about some Monday overreactions from Week 5. We got Jevon Holland out of the way, and there's a lot of positives to talk about from this game. There is. Even though it was an ugly 15-10 win, you never apologize for a win, and there was a lot of bright spots alongside the offensive line, but also in the backfield with rookie Jaylen Wright. The 4th-round pick out of Tennessee was thrust into the action, Mingia, because De'Von Achane suffered a concussion in the first half of this game, and he might need more touches. That's my overreaction, and I'm going to think that's an absolute truth bomb because Jaylen Wright looked absolutely spectacular yesterday. His vision, his explosiveness, his ability to accelerate once he hits that second and third level was absolutely fun to watch. And we knew he had that speed. He ran a sub 4.4 at the 40-yard dash and was a big play machine for the Volunteers offense last season when he was still in college. He was awesome. And we saw this in the preseason. And we always wondered why he wasn't getting a lot more touches, especially with Raheem Mostert out for the past 3 weeks. Achane goes out, and now you have that two-headed backfield of Wright and Mostert. They both ran for 80 yards plus. Specifically, you see the numbers here from Jaylen Wright, averaging 6.6 yards per carry. He was explosive, and the part that I really liked, and the part that excited me the most, is that he did not go down on first contact very often. There was, I think I could count on my hand 5 times that Wright was hit after a 1-2 yard gain, and I start saying on our watch party, I was like, all right, Wright only carries for 2 yards up the middle. And the next thing you know, he's piling forward and ends up being a 3, 4, or 5 yard game because he's driving piles and falling forward. Those are the type of plays that change a ball game because it makes it more manageable on second down, makes it more manageable on a third down. He was spectacular hitting the open holes, but also fighting through contact, and I could not be happier with what I saw from Jaylen Wright. But we also have to give some credit to the offensive line because what we saw yesterday was efficient running, specifically on the left side of that offensive line. And we talked going into the week, by the way, that the Dolphins averaged 2.6 yards per carry on runs to the left tackle. That's not good. This was a different story yesterday against New England. On the left end, Jaylen Wright had 1 carry for 6 yards. That's outside of Teron Armstead. Behind Teron Armstead, 2 carries for 20 yards. So it was good to have the left tackle back who played the full game. No injury concern there. How about Robert Jones? You run behind him at the left guard spot. You get 12 yards on 1 carry for Jaylen Wright. And then running in between Aaron Brewer, your center, and Robert Jones, that middle left area, 2 carries for 22 yards. So when Jaylen Wright, this is specific to Jaylen, ran to the left side of the field, he damn near averaged 10 yards per carry. It wasn't the same story on the right side. We could talk about Liam Eichenberg and Austin Jackson there, but when he ran to the left side of the field, Wright was extremely efficient. And when we look at the offensive line as a whole, you have to give credit to them. I have been very critical of them. You have been very critical of them in the comment section, and rightfully so. They have struggled in pass protection. They have struggled in run blocking as well. But they single-handedly won this team the football game yesterday and that running game. Listen, the Dolphins only had 3 points at halftime. They scored a touchdown and 2 field goals in the second half. And the reason why they won that game is they had a 15-play, 80-yard drive that lasted 7.5 minutes and was the touchdown drive that gave Miami a 15-10 lead. And out of those 15 plays they ran, 11 of them were runs. So Mike McDaniel just said, F this, we're going to run it down the Patriots defense throat. We're going smash mouth, bully football, and it worked. And it was not even just tosses, end arounds, trick plays. No, these were just physical runs with Mostert and Jaylen Wright in between the tackles for the most part. They obviously had a couple pitches, but I was very impressed with the offensive line. They were able to really control the line of scrimmage in that second half, and the reason why the Dolphins won the football game. And I think it's very clear. The Dolphins, if they win the trenches, they will win games. It doesn't even matter who's at quarterback. If this offensive line performs and the defensive line can do their job on the other side and you dominate up front and are physical, the Dolphins are going to win these games. All right, a couple more overreactions coming up in just a second, but we are sponsored by Game Time, the best way to get your tickets on any live event you go to, whether it's a comedy show, concert, sporting event. Maybe you do want to go see the Dolphins now when they return home against the Cardinals in Week 8. Either way, Game Time is the place to go, especially with their new feature called Game Time Picks. It filters out the fluff to only show you incredible deals, so you don't waste time searching through thousands of tickets. They have also all-in pricing, allowing you to see the total price of your ticket up front rather than getting blindsided at checkout. Another great feature here. You get to see a panoramic view in your seat, literally, no matter where you're going. You can see the stage if you're going to a concert or a theater or a comedy show. You can see the field or a court or a rink if you're going to a sporting event. Game Time is the easiest place to buy your tickets, and I love easy. So download the app and use code ChatSports when you create an account to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, first purchase only. But again, create an account and use code CHATSPORTS to get $20 off that first purchase. What time is it? It's Game Time. Appreciate them for sponsoring today's show. Link will be in the description and comments of today's video. All right, let's talk about Anthony Weaver, because is he an awesome defensive coordinator? Absolutely. And even if the Dolphins lost this game, which it would have been heartbreaking to see the offense to finally go down and score a touchdown and the defense allow a touchdown right back. But this defense has been terrific, man. And he has been the biggest bright spot of the season thus far. Like, the Patriots offense, which came into the league, or came into this game, the least yards per game in the National Football League. They were held in check once again. Now, there is some concern on the rushing department, and this has been a theme all year long. The Dolphins have not been the best run-stopping team, and I know a lot of people are going to talk about Christian Wilkins, but honestly, Wilkins hasn't done much in Las Vegas this year. Sure, he would help clog up those running lanes in the middle, but he hasn't done a lot of that in Las Vegas. But the running game for New England was working yesterday, but the secondary was terrific. 18 of 34 for Jacoby Brissett, only 148 yards. No turnovers forced yesterday, but that's been maybe the one disappointing thing for this Dolphins defense, is that they failed to really create the takeaways often. They've had a couple interceptions, couple fumbles, but not consistent enough. But how about these statistics that we need to show on the defense for Miami? In terms of yards per game allowed, through 5 games, now this is before the games from Monday Night Football tonight between the Chiefs and the Saints and some of the teams that only played 4 games and had a bye this week. The Dolphins are 6th in yards per game allowed. They are 4th in passing yards per game. Now, the running department, like we said, needs some work, 19th. But this is another one. The Dolphins led the NFL in third down rate, allowing their opponent to convert, that is, coming into Week 5. After Week 5, it doesn't change. They're still at first in the National Football League, only allowing teams to convert their third down opportunities 25.5% of the time. So if Miami gets you to third down, they are very, very effective at getting you off the football field and getting it back to the offense. But that's not even the most impressive stat to me, which it's good to be first and third down rate. That is pretty solid, and it's how you win football games. But the most impressive thing to me about Anthony Weaver and his defense is the ability to make adjustments at halftime. I think that is the most important thing as a coordinator in the National Football League, because you spend all week long scheming and creating a game plan. But what happens if that game plan goes haywire? It doesn't work. Well, you're going to have to make adjustments and switch to what your opponent is doing. Doesn't matter what side of the football field you're on. And Miami has done an extremely good job at that outside of Tennessee. When you look at the points in the second half from the first 5 opponents of Miami, Jacksonville got blanked in the second half, allowed Miami to come back from 17-7 and win that game. The Bills, that game was out of hand, but you only allowed 7 points in that second half, 1 touchdown. Same thing with Seattle. You allowed 17 points in the first half, only 7 in the second half. Tennessee was the one weird one. It was close at halftime. You gave up 22 points in the second half. Now, I think that's more or less because Miami's defense was giving up terrible field position, and they were on the field for an extended period of time because the offense was turning the ball over. They were unable to sustain drives. So I really blame that more on the offense than the defense. But then again, this week, Patriots, 3 points in the second half. Your defense has been locking down in the second half, giving the offense an opportunity to either come back in the game or stick around and take the lead like they did against New England. The defense has been absolutely spectacular, and I love what I've seen from Anthony Weaver in the second half with his adjustments and the way he uses his blitz packages at times. He brought a couple blitzes where he overloaded one side, absolutely got to Jacoby Brissett immediately, and then in the biggest play of the game, 4th down late when the Patriots were at the 17-yard line, 0 blitz, cover 0, trusted your secondary that's top 5 in NFL in yards per game, and guess what? You're able to force the incompletion and get it back to your offense to potentially close out that game. All right, one more to get to here, but lock us in. Daily coverage here at Dolphins Today. Multiple videos per day. Watch parties every single Dolphins game. We are 340 subscribers away from 62K. Hit that sub button. Join us. Let's get there before we have our week 6 or 7 game against the Colts. All right, is the season back on? Absolutely, folks. It is. And I don't want to be the guy that just goes flip-flop, flip-flop, flip-flop. But I feel like I've been pretty consistent in saying that as long as the Dolphins were 3-3 when Tua returns potentially in Week 8 against the Cardinals, the season is back. And I said this at our watch party yesterday. If Miami lost to New England, season was finite. You might as well move on. But now that you are 2-3, you're only 1 game back of Buffalo as they've lost 2 in a row. They're 3-2. You have a bye week to have 2 weeks to prepare for the Colts in Week 7. Win that game, you're 3-3, and guess what? Tua's back, and everything's possible. And I know that this can't really be something that is completely put down as Mike McDaniel, but how about these three stats here coming out of the bye week? Now, 2023 was last year with Mike McDaniel. Obviously, 2020 and 2021 was not. But following the bye week for Miami over the past 4 or 5 seasons since 2020, they have been spectacular. 5-1 the next 6 weeks, 3-1 in the next 4 weeks, 5-1 last year after the bye in the following 6 weeks. The Dolphins have been very good at coming out of the bye week, making adjustments, and going forward with the season. And you can't help but think that can be the case again here, because the 6 games that Miami have following the bye week, you're in Indianapolis, a Colts team that is really, really bad. And if you're able to hold their offense to 14, 17 points, their defense has been atrocious. And I think you can put up 3 tutties against them. Arizona at home when Tua returns. That's a very winnable game. Week 9 in Buffalo will be tough, but then the following 3 weeks in Los Angeles, the Rams have been a very bad football team. Then the Raiders and Patriots at home. Those 2 teams have been extremely bad. How can you not sit here and believe that a 4-2 or 5-1 stretch is absolutely on the table? And especially if they're able to beat Indianapolis coming out of the bye week without Tua, I think 5-1 is very, very likely, because I would expect them to win all 3 games at home against Arizona, Las Vegas, and New England. And if you split at Buffalo and Los Angeles, well, then that's a 5-1 stretch here, assuming you beat the Colts in Week 7. And if you go 5-1, you want to know what your record would be? It would be 7-4. Like, you're right there. 7-4 going into the tough part of your schedule, I'm in. Even if you're 6-5 and you go 4-2, I would feel very confident about the way this team is moving, because there's going to be momentum heading into the final 7 games of the season or 6 games of the season where you have a chance to really make the postseason. So I'm not going to say the season ends if they lose to Indianapolis in Week 7, but I'll tell you one thing. If they win that game coming out of the bye, how can you not feel like momentum is really going for Miami's side here? And I need you to predict the Dolphins' record in the next 6 games. I'll go conservative and go 4-2 for Miami, but man, I tell you what, I really think it's going to be 5-1 if they beat the Colts coming out of this bye. But let me know your predictions down below. And make sure you are subscribed to the channel as well, because we are going to bring you the best coverage here at Dolphins Today, and we just want to make this family grow even larger here at the channel. Watch parties for every game, videos every single day. You're still watching, you obviously like what we're doing, so hit that sub button.